It appears we have a break in our usual transmission. Yes, things are not coming in 100% clear, are they? Who among you will stand up and say they're going to limit themselves? Who among you can look yourself in the eye and say when your valor was tested in a fair competition with yourself, you prefer to make the cowardly choice to run the other way? Who says that? Who says that with their words? Nobody. Who says that with their actions? Everybody. It's damn near everybody. Every single godforsaken one of us. Everybody does it almost all the time they do it. They do it so much if you try to stop doing it, you're the problem too. Look at us. Just look at what a wretched, uninspired, pathetic, and weak shell we build when we are allowed everything that is ours for the asking. Atheists and Christians alike, hear my call. I proclaim this statement to be something you can both agree on is generally very good advice when it comes to learning new things. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Which means that those of you who are watching this are asking me, those of you who are watching this, who are looking for something, and all of you are waiting for the door of opportunity to find your path and are asking to knock on it with vigor. And you've come to me. Well, you've got some pretty fucking high expectations, don't you? If I were a lesser man, I might be offended by that. But I'm not, you see. How could I expect people who are not foolish at all to be able to understand the life and motivations of one who stoops so low to not only be a fool, but he decides to be the biggest and best fool of all time? And why wouldn't he? Doesn't that sound like something a fool would do? Well, it doesn't matter what I want anymore because I'm stuck with the job, whether I like it or not. But this doesn't change anything. I may be a fool, but if I must wear that crown, then at least I can use my intensity and my fury to dare question anyone who would take my job by fooling themselves for 1 second about anything. I won't stand for it. I get to be the fool. You do not. You don't want it anyways, do you? Should you? I don't know. I'm the damn fool, remember? You decide. There's something special about me. Yes. There's a piece of me that's not wired quite the same way as everyone else. And you see, that broken little piece of me sees each and every one of you as so much larger than myself that I would need to have some pretty high fucking expectations of myself so I could feel like I was keeping up. But you see, that used to be true. Long ago, that used to be true. I had nothing. I learned very slowly. But I always had high expectations of myself that it was never good enough, no matter what. So I'll try a little harder tomorrow. And again I rode that boulder up the cursed hill, only to be pecked and torn apart by my own self-criticism, that I would find myself at the bottom tomorrow to do it all over again. But you see, there's one problem. When the little part of you is so focused on a lack of total progress that they instinctively seek minor and incremental progress with every damn thing, well, what happens when some little part of that primitive self-improvement process gets lucky by accident and figures out how to unlock all of these great ideas instantaneously, on demand, so long as some very simple instructions are followed? It's the Rosetta Stone of all thought. Yes, and I can see it. It's perfectly clear. It's the arena. The symbolism is undeniable to those who are trained in such things. It's as plain as day that on that mystical field of thought, one must choose an adventure to go on and fight a monster or two along the way. They grow in passion and humility, and strength is only found after learning to swing both sides of the intellectual sword. And what about Dr. Jordan Peterson? How does this revelation change things between us? Well, you see, Dr. Peterson, if I were being nice, I would say that it doesn't. I would say that I am the same loud, brash, and cocky upstart who swings his fist above his head hoping to get lucky by grabbing your attention. with the fact that one mere mortal with no background in such things was able to rise to a level on purpose, to put himself in a position where you could even see his message at all among the millions of people who interact with you. I can assure you, Dr. Peterson, none of that was an accident. And well, I could say everything has stayed the same. I could not say so honestly, because now, Dr. Peterson, that I have put on the jester's cap, and I have willingly donned the mantle of the fool. Don't you see, Dr. Jordan Peterson, that I am the same loud, brash, and cocky upstart with one difference? I have willingly donned the mantle of King of the Fools, and I am now more powerful than ever. And perhaps one day when I stand before you on the field of battle, recognized as an equal, only then, Dr. Peterson, will I put the hat of the warrior back on. Until then, my armor has been broken and only you can restore it. Until then, I am and always will be the King of Fools. And gathered here are fellow warriors. Each of us alone found one another, nomads in a harsh climate of skewed perception. Is everyone who is cursed to be misunderstood and also cursed to misunderstand. Here is where they come from, the wilderness. They are unknown to you and to each other because each comes from a different direction, flung so far from safety of their homes that they would kill anyone who wasn't born there. But they recognize there has to be a better way. And no matter how bad I think it is, I can always try to find to be a little better. Yes. And here is where they gather, just outside what you might call civilization. It is here they learn to control their wild imaginations in ways that make them far more useful to themselves and those around them. These men are natural leaders of the best caliber, complete with their lack of desire to lead anyone who isn't already chosen to follow in that direction as well. These men do not look for traveling servants. They seek to be seen and find equals. The best idea of all these men had together was to fight each other all the time as hard as they could, because each of them has a different story to tell, and each of them has a different battle to scar, that they can share their war stories by trying to beat each other. They are shown how oblivious they are to the vulnerabilities that could destroy him. And this is their arena, and I am their king. Yes, I am the king of these men, but there's just one problem with that. All of these men are too damn smart to need a king, but they're all too tightly wound to ever loosen up and relax every damn now and again. Rectum's damn near killed them. They're puckered up so tight. So what do they say? They say, look at that one. He's quite the fool, is he? And they're right. Don't you understand that I have allowed myself to become what I look at all of you and say, I am the fool for doing whatever it takes to make sure that at the end of the day I can work hard at something. Anything. I can be anything. It's a magic wand of self-empowerment. Point the eye of the scepter so it focuses on the part of the self that wants to be seen. And there you have it. Yes, the mind takes care of the rest. You don't have to do anything. You couldn't stop it if you wanted to. And this is all required to improve anything you wish to learn about. All you need to do is keep asking questions and shining lights on part that you wish to know. All one must do is ask how my life is different than what it could be, and how well I can understand what a question looks like. Well, I know what it looks like to me, and I'm going to need to be a fool instead of a warrior to inspire you. Then I'll be the best damn fool this sorry world has ever seen. That's right, you fools. You never saw it coming. All this time I was merely acting foolishly, and of course I played along. But really I was maneuvering myself to be appointed king of the fools in jest, when I was secretly training my heart out to be the best damn fool possible, like it was some kind of competition. And I trained hard. I ate right. There were lots of prayers, some answered and some not. And there was pain, the pain it takes on a person's back when it has never once in its wretched existence known a position that was not hunched over underneath undue burden of falsely mandated humility. When a back is bent like that for too long, it will only bend further until it breaks. I have seen it. It is not pleasant to witness the death of a rational mind when the body is still alive. He says he's free, but he cannot see how his own emotions bind him up and restrict his thinking. But when the back straightens, yes. When the bones creak and groan, yes. When the electricity begins to light up again, yes, it's crackling, yes, it's growing, oh yes, and the muscles are free to move with all their previously restricted directions. Yes, the spine of a man's open mind is not a thing which can be broken, because they have learned all the secrets of a will that cannot be killed. With that strength, the journey begins anew as new challenges are found and sought in strange and unlikely places with strange and unlikely ideas. To learn them is to gain their power. To fight them is to destroy yourself. How do you learn then? You ask. One must ask. You must ask enough to want an answer that isn't your own, because you finally got the inner strength to take an idea you have and fairly compare it against another you haven't thought of. When you reach that point, you now have a choice as to which of these ideas are better than the other. It is your responsibility then to make the right choices. But I can say this beyond all doubt, there is no better place for learning how to stand up than right here and right now, watching these matches. If you want to see how it works when you are tired of being right and instead wish to be effective, this is where you learn such things. The lessons are hard. There's crazy ideas that seem to make no sense in the heat of the moment. Ideas like trying to understand exactly where someone is coming from before having made a decision about being right or wrong. Ideas like asking yourself, if I could remove and sell the things of value which make up my character, would their worth fill more than my ability to never be mistaken? And if you believe for 1 second you can answer that question with a simple yes or no, I can tell your character would fetch a much higher price if you could break that question up into 1,000 pieces and care enough about getting the answers to them all. The challenge is how deeply can one see the smallest missing piece. That is the contest for tonight. In one corner of the universe, we have a deceptively innocent-looking man. He is a wandering man of nature looking for something he thinks will be found in birds and trees. He's a man of military strength, having given up part of his life into a contract of trust and stewardship, where he was taken in, forced to abandon all control over himself in a pact to grow, assuming he has the strength to follow the orders and trust that his sergeants and captains and lieutenants were looking out for him. As he grew in trust with them, he was recognized as more than a raw recruit, but as one of competence, given some and earned all of it. He is now released from his terms and takes the gift of skill learned through sacrifice. A worthy attitude indeed. He's a master of reduction. He looks upon the most towering of ideas, and with a magical wave of his brain, he somehow wills them into smaller and smaller shapes until they're small enough for him to say, "Oh, is that what you were trying to say? Why did it take you so long to get there?" He is here to push himself to the next and highest potential, even if it leaves him feeling worn down and distressed. Wake up, maggot! Make your bed, maggot! Drop and give me 50, maggot! Your bed isn't a total mess today, maggot. Are you trying to make me a liar when I think of you as a good-for-nothing failure? Your push-ups look pretty good there, maggot. Keep on target, that's right. Right there in the center. Hell of a shot, Private. You learn to do that on purpose, and I'll have to keep my eye on you. Keep your arms straight, Private. Don't pull the trigger. Squeeze it gently and exhale. Good shot, Private. I'm ready to recommend you for something a bit more advanced. That is his way. That is his motto. It's his ability to grow and advance if he can just follow where the damn orders are taking him enough when he doesn't know what's going on, so he can always locate someone who can. That is him. He always finds his answer, usually by getting hopelessly lost. He is the one. He is the only black sheet. The reluctant sage. Bradley, announce your intention to participate. Are you ready? Will Bradley be able to follow? Will he be smart enough to set proper goals for himself before this match to ensure that he grows himself as much as possible within the short 30 tiny minutes he has been provided? He fights. You decide. Philip was late for his match tonight. It's my turn to announce him, but I feel like I need a drink of water instead. Philip, if you will please excuse my tardiness with your introduction, so I may quench the thirst of my throat, which becomes raw in praise of you and your opponent, Bradley. Yes, I won't keep you waiting for long. One could say this type of business builds up quite a thirst, couldn't they, Philip? That's better. That was very satisfying, yes. I feel like my thirst has been quenched, yes. Now let us get back, pardon the intrusion, and discuss our next competitor. In the opposite corner of the universe, we have our other competitor. He steps into the world with a plan of action and a plan to go and do the thing, which is going to make everything different, expecting to be met with frustration time and time again. He has studied diligently and obsessively, using every waking moment to find the pieces of broken and forgotten plans, chasing answers wherever they take him, hoping beyond all hope that somehow, some way, that the path would lead him to a useful place where the evils that vex the mind are but a forgotten memory. I will take this moment to announce the fighters. Excuse me. I will take this moment to announce that fighters who have been in exactly as many matches as Philip has, without choosing a stage name, will be assigned one at the announcer's discretion, until such a time as the player chooses a stage name of their own. Tonight's fighter is, first name Philip, stage name, the self-inflicted Banana Peel. Will Philip the Banana be able to bunch himself together tonight and offer arguments which are appealing to hear? Philip! What? Why are some of you looking at me like that? Do some of you not know what's going on? Well, that's a fair question to ask. It's a question I ask myself all the time. What is going on? I must apologize for my deceptive clothing. What I'm doing is telling a joke, you see. I've got the staff and the hat, and along with that are certain expectations. I suppose. I don't know. I'm making this up as I go along. It's not like they give you a rule book for this sort of thing. You see, by suggesting that Philip, a human being who is not a banana, has words shared with bananas which describe his personality, then it might be possible to make you think of Philip, a human being who is not a banana, as a small bunch of bananas with a frowning face on one of them. Perhaps a sticker is covering his face and he's very upset about that. His arch enemy, the Chiquita banana girl, beautiful on the outside, banana on the inside. Philip is a banana. Philip, declare your intention to participate. Are you ready to fight? Why am I trying not to laugh? I'm a fucking jester. This is the one time I can get away with this. Philip, are you ready to fight? Philip, yes. It's time for the rules of tonight's contest. Both fighters are engaged in a free-for-all, no-holds-barred battle of wits with the single driving passion to convince the other person they have a deeper understanding of the truth than their opponent. At the end of the match, the fighters will be judged on the following criteria: how well they understood their own position by explaining it clearly. How well do they understand the position of their opponent when the opponent is being clear? How much does their own ego stop them from trying to find the better answer? This is not about being right or wrong, because this stage can only be reached by those who realize no one has all the right answers. And when no one has all the right answers, all that is left is a better answer. They fight. You decide. That is the competition here, and that is the metric for victory. Tonight's match is set for a time limit of 30 minutes. Fighters are limited only by how much they can effectively communicate within that time. How effectively they can spot weaknesses in their opponent's arguments. Who will drive the discussion more until both of them reach agreement? Will agreement be reached before time runs out? Do either of them put their own ego ahead of the truth? They fight. You decide. The topic for tonight's event is, how does individual perception shape how people view moral and immoral actions? 3, 2, 1, fight! Yes. Quite the transformation. Philip is looking for those to get out of his way. Like the Queen song, "Don't Stop Me Now." I'm pitch perfect when every note is the same. Nobody stop me. Don't stop me now. Yes. Who will stop me? One of them should stop me by making a point. Both of them are spinning in circles. Neither one of them can type fast enough to keep me busy. I'll have to occupy myself, won't I?
Well, sure you will, boss. One of them might have something interesting to say, don't you think? I would sure hope so. They've been a right bunch of dummies, haven't they?
Well, that's not very nice to say, is it? But I'm not going to disagree with you. But only because neither of them has said anything.
Yes, better to keep your mouth shut than be proven a fool, isn't it?
Yes, who's going to prove themselves a fool first? They speak, you decide, and Bradley starts the event and says, so personal perception of the action dictates that alone. Yes. Is this a subjective decision or an objective one? Where are we measuring it from?
Yes, it doesn't quite make sense unless we know where we're measuring it from, does it?
No, it doesn't. That's a very good point. Yes.
I don't like how you yell at me so close. How do you like it? Huh? Yes, yes, yes. What's the matter with you?
I have problems controlling the volume of my voice. I'm glad I have you here to keep me company. Yes, that works. And Philip says, okay. So individual perception influences our views of morality by our understanding of the bad and the good, which we know is subjective at least to a degree. So how do we define what's good and bad? Yes, Philip cuts for the heart of the matter.
Yes, he says we can surely agree that it's a subjective thing, right? Because we're all going to have different opinions.
Yes, that is what he's saying. So he's trying to skip that with Bradley. Yes, Philip is advancing the conversation quickly within its first moment. It appears that experience has served him well, and the only thing he can't seem to experience is to be able to set his damn alarm clock in a way that's reliable. His IQ is over 200 likely, and he still has problems with the most basic technology. But that is not why we're here. This is not a contest of attention.
Really, you had my attention there for a minute. Then you started talking about alarm clocks.
Well, Stop it! The match continues. Bradley says the question says... the question says individual. So everyone would be different. From cultures, to ages, to almost anything. Now watch as I take a drink of water and let the skull speak for me. It's like that frog in the cartoon that can't sing, but it won't when asked. Quite annoying. Someday you will speak while I'm drinking and prove me not to be a fool. Bradley says yes. The question says individual, so he is reading the point of tonight's topic and taking every word as precious. So Bradley says, what you say might be true, but we're going to add to that, and Philip agrees with himself when Bradley agrees with him by saying, yes, that would be correct. But how do we find a common ground or something along those lines? As we know, morality is meant to be the guiding force behind our actions. And again, wholly depends on our perceptions of the times and the cultures. Tom, type the question again, please. Tom will type nothing. I cannot type anything. I'm far too involved to type. The best I can do is hope to copy and paste from my notes here. But even my fingers are having a hard time listening to me while keeping up the intensity of this. Surely you can take over and help.
Tom, you've got to stop working so hard and being so intense. This is how you need me for. Yes, I'm going to help you relax. Wrecked him damn near killed him, remember? That was your idea.
Yes, there's the question. Thank you, and thank you. And Philip says, do you think our morality has any innate aspects? That's a good question. What is it about morality that makes it morality? I don't know. What do you think? How do you know you're acting morally? Can you be sure if you don't even know what morality is made of? Perhaps it's made of things that we don't understand yet. Things we don't have names for. I don't know. Bradley seems to be caught up on the vocabulary, but that is not a restriction that will hold him back for long. Bradley, even I can help you with this, because Philip would not want you to be held up by a simple definition of a word. Innate means that one is born with it. It is intrinsic. It is part of its construction. Yes, it is that which makes the thing have its defining characteristic. I think, therefore I am. That is innate. You cannot think and not be. It is innate. And Philip takes a moment to agree with me. Yes, losing the advantage he had of speed, but probably wise to wait for Bradley to catch up. So yes, he's also showing empathy at the same time. I don't know. It's an evenly scored thing.
Yes, you're really doing a lot to say nothing, aren't you? Why don't you try making a point every now and then?
That's not the way this works. And you know it. You're being deceptive.
Well, that makes two of us.
Well, how dare you? Yes, the match. Philip says what Thomas said. Philip agrees with me, agreeing with him by defining the word as he would have described it. And Bradley says morality comes from a sense of empathy. Well, how about that? Where does empathy come from, and what is it good for? Bradley changes the topic because he says one cannot understand morality if one does not understand what makes it up. So will Philip agree with this and go deeper into the concept of morality, accepting Bradley's definition as one worthy of exploration? Or did Philip have his own idea, and it was merely giving the appearance of a question when he was just setting up Bradley to tell him how his opinion is correct? I don't know who will type what first. Is Philip going to build, or is Philip going to divert? That will make his intention clear, and I'd like to see it. I'm very curious.
How do you know all these things? You're just guessing. If you're wrong, you've always got a way out.
That's the way it's supposed to work when one sees both sides of things. You're supposed to always have a way out. You're not supposed to get trapped. You're not supposed to have your life get ruined because you can't figure out why you've only got one choice. There's always one more.
Why don't you use one of those choices to watch the match?
And Bradley says the individual perception shapes how others view it. Yes. So the person's intent. Yes. Bradley is saying that a person means to understand another. And surely that must have something to do with it. And Philip agrees that empathy has effects. However, yes, he changes the topic. Yes, it was my first guess that Philip had an ulterior motive with his first statement. He was drawing Bradley in for a conversation about empathy, which was thinly veiled to disguise to say that it doesn't rely on it, it relies on what is good. Even an apathetic person can do a good thing. Now, Philip has used a trap to give an opinion that is his own in place of one that was offered. Will Bradley say that the gift offered is better, or is it a fool's exchange and value is to be found in both ideas? Bradley says if I intend to do good, others would have empathy towards it, even if the action was immoral, against my own goodwill. Yes, Bradley is saying that if I imagine and believe with all of my heart that I am acting good, and he happens to be right, or he happens to be wrong, from his perspective, he is doing the right and moral thing, and others would say incorrectly from Bradley's own perspective that he is doing the wrong thing. Makes it very difficult to have a conversation when both of you have decided the other is wrong before anything has been said. That's a powerful point, and Philip agrees that's a great point. Empathy can lead you both to moral and immoral actions. which is why he doesn't believe it relies on being empathetic.
Yeah, but what about saying that if one is kind, one can be cruel? And the more one knows how to be cruel and chooses not to be, then isn't that a greater kindness by comparison? If one cannot be cruel, one can be kind, but then one can really only be kind. They're like a statue that does one thing. They don't really have a choice, do they?
No, it doesn't sound like they do. I don't know that I agree with that. So Philip clarifies and says it relies on being empathetic, which is a true point to make. Yes, one cannot have a true understanding of anything without empathy. And empathy, don't misunderstand me, is not an undeserved thing that is given to people with willy-nilly this and that. No, empathy is only the promise to try and understand the words that come out of a person's mouth as they meant them. Not any sort of agreement to agree with them or take them with you as they though were your own. No, you only try to repeat words that they have said to you, which describe their position in a way that says you have correctly represented them. And then, and only then, do both of you share common ground. And that is how the discussion moves. Bradley says, immoral to whose perspective? An apathetic person can do good. They intend to. Doesn't mean they have to do evil. But from others' perspective, it changes. And Philip says, yes, that's my point. We need to know what the good and the bad is and are. We need to be able to justify what is moral and what is not. And this conversation seems to be moving rather nicely with just about 19 minutes remaining. Both of them have reached common ground a little bit, and they agree that yes, people do have different perceptions, and somehow that must be a part of any solution. And he says, if we can pinpoint pure evil, we can assume there is pure good. And that is what he was based his ideas and perspective off of for morality. Yes, what is the worst evil and what is the best good? And from there we have everything and everything in between. And Philip is on a roll. He's making many points at once, taking this conversation in a straight line. What will Bradley do? Will he feel the need to be caught up at the conclusion, or will he have challenges to be made along the way? If Bradley can quickly decide that he agrees with what Philip has said, that would advance the conversation quite well. And Philip would have been wise for doing this the way that he has. However, if Bradley is stuck on the first argument, then Philip would have gotten too far ahead of himself indeed and showed a lack of empathy while making the case for how much empathy matters when one is trying to make that point. All of this depends on Bradley now. Philip has no more control over it. He has taken the gambit. We must wait to see what Bradley does. Oh yes, who is going to be? Was Philip's gambit going to pay off? If yes, the conversation will advance quite quickly. But only if he has appropriately tailored his message with words and a chain of logic that Bradley can understand, and Bradley is typing. Yes, it feels like an eternity, but it's only been about 45 seconds, and Bradley is thinking about everything that Philip has said, and Philip has said a lot. So, what will Bradley have to say? Yes, I want to know.
I want to know, too. Why isn't he typing faster?
He's typing as fast as he can. He doesn't do this for a living.
You don't do this for a living either. You're not even getting paid. Will you stop that? Stop undermining me in front of the crowd.
Wait, there's only one person watching. I think it's okay. It might even be us. Yes, that's fine. Yes, you can make fun of me all you want.
Well, it's not fun if you're telling me to do it.
I know, that's your weakness. I can control you. Yes. All I have to do is take away that which you matter and accept that which you give me, because what you find is joy in rejection. You find no joy in acceptance.
Well, so what? I'm still going to get you.
And we look back and Bradley is still working. Yes, this is taking quite some time. Perhaps he is struggling a bit. Philip, did you overshoot? Did you give Bradley too much too quickly? Did Bradley fall over?
Well, he's going to fall over pretty soon.
Why do you say that?
Because he's been leaning on Philip the entire night. You stop that. Bradley is a fierce competitor. He has not been leaning on Philip the entire night. They have been leaning on each other. That is how this works.
Well, that's how it should work. What's going on here, I can't explain. This is a good match. Who are you to say otherwise? You're only part of my mind anyways. You're not... Well, you are real.
I'm looking right at you and talking to the part of me that is you. So yes, you are real, but you're not in charge. Do you understand? It's a partnership. Yes, it's a partnership. That means I still get to make my jokes. You just don't have to think they're funny. Why is that funny? I don't know. And I don't know either. Why is that funny?
Why am I laughing at that? That's such a dumb joke. Bradley says he agrees, but the question has to do with the changing of perceptions. If one thinks it's bad and the other good, regardless of what each thinks is good. So Bradley says, Philip, yes, you have made some good points. Now let's get back on topic, and here is what Bradley thinks is the correct topic. So Philip, you have been validated but not explored. Is that enough for you? Or would you press in a different direction than the conversation is headed when Bradley has some conceptions about that which lies before it? It's going to be a question of ego versus intelligence. If Philip can sufficiently advance the conversation beyond the point where Bradley intends to take it, perhaps he sees one piece of information there that he believes will snap everything together if he can only reach that final moment, following a clever and carefully designed step-by-step process of ideas to say this and this and this and this and finally get to the final conclusion. When Philip doesn't realize that, yes, you should start with the final conclusion and save some damn time. That's some very good advice. Well, I think so. I'm glad I thought of it. It was your idea. You think I don't listen? Just because we don't look at each other anymore when we... Because we don't. No, it's never happened. And Philip says that's what he's trying to avoid, but why? If we allow it to be dictated only by perception, we have no way to really say morality is a good tool for moral control. I'm not sure the conversation was about moral control, but being a good tool for moral control sounds like something that's very interesting to me and something I haven't heard discussed before on this topic. So if one is looking to advance the topic beyond where I thought it could go, congratulations, Philip, for taking this conversation in a direction I never intended. Or predicted is a better word for that, because even though I didn't predict it, I damn sure are enjoying it.
Yes, it seems like someone's finally done something risky. What about making a crazy statement? Philip took my advice.
It was good advice. It's quality advice. And yes, he says being good. Okay, so his point is that perceptions, when they come into morality, is risky business. Well, isn't that just the same thing as saying, yes, if it's good for one, it's good for the other? Good can be good, bad can be bad. We know this. Why do we keep spinning in circles by listing the ways that bad is bad and the way that good is good? Yes, we know that. What we care about is the other direction. Yes, we spin back and forth when we realize it's both, the potential for both. It exists. Yes, it exists in superposition, one on top of the other. You fool, they don't understand that word. You're such a dork. You're a geek. Get back in the lab, you fool. I'm the fool, remember? Yes. They exist and are true at the same time, like ideas. You can have as many as you want at once. Nobody is stopping you from stacking them on top of the other. They can even work against each other. Yes, that is the secret. Philip says it's risky business. But somebody's got to do it. It is a business after all. If it's risky, perhaps it is a lack of competence rather than a lack of intrinsic problem. Rather cocky to assume that you haven't found the best answer you know. Therefore, it's risky overall. One places limits on all of humanity with such statements. How does one achieve the impossible unless someone figures it out? You don't tell everyone it's impossible, and then one of them gets it right. That's how it works. Bradley says, if we avoid perception altogether, how would you describe good and bad? Yes, how would you? So Philip uses his perception to say bad is a variance from neutrality, good is rebalancing to neutrality. So Philip says that his perception is the only perception. Philip declares himself God, essentially. by saying the one perception is the only perception. His perception. It should be this way. This is how it works. But that is not all perceptions, eh? Some of them are skewed. Some are broken. Some are incomplete. Yes, they have equal right to exist, do they not? One has had a privilege of perception, perhaps. Let it go to their head. Who's to say such a thing is real? You decide. I don't know. Bradley says, should an action be done if it's different perception among the two? They disagree with your action. Bad is a corruption of good and is a healing, but not necessarily growth. That is an interesting thing to say, and Philip jumps on the bandwagon quickly, sliding that banana peel back onto the track. That's not how Mario Kart works, but Philip always plays it backwards. Yes, he slips on the banana peel back onto the course, right behind Bradley, and he says an action should be taken away, like belief of the Buddha and Christ, when morality dictates what your action should be. I can give you an example of pure bad, but it's very graphic. Bradley says that was supposed to be one message. Yes, Bradley, I understood your intent and combined your ideas. Hopefully in a way that was pleasing to you.
Hopefully in a way that wasn't pleasing to him. You're going to learn something then. What do you want, an agreement machine? You want some validation? Here, you're doing a good job. How does that make you feel? Do you like that? Do you like hearing that everybody loves you? Is that what you want? Yes, look at you. You're so loud. You're doing everything right. Well, you are. Or at least you're doing your best. So get back to it. What are you listening to me for? I'm your doubt. I'm the parts of you that don't like you. And even I like you enough to tell you that I'm giving you bad advice. So don't listen to me and look at the match.
Yes, what are we saying? Bradley says, why isn't me kicking an old lady for fun pure evil? I can think of worse, but why is one more evil? Bradley, with a heavy heart, says he was in the army and he's seen worse. And Philip, with an equally heavy heart, says, I really doubt. And Bradley says, evil is evil. And I've seen it. And it's real. And some of us see a lot more than we should. It hurts us very deeply. And sometimes when people are lost, they find each other through the only thing they know, which is the terrible pain they have. The pain is the tool. It's not the way. Use it so you can put it down. Well, it's hard to argue with that.
Yes, I don't like arguing against him. It makes me very sad. Why don't we go back to the match?
Yes, looking at this, we see over here, and yes, it seems like both Philip and Bradley have been distracted by my end of reflection. I can't help it. I go where the feelings take me. I am their servant, not their master. And Bradley says, is this a fight or a seminar? Yes, one has correctly elevated my advice to pure wisdom, and we have 3 people that say it's right. 3 very intelligent people. We've decided together. Is that enough for you to decide with us? That it's good advice to let go of your pain. That sounds like rather good advice to me. And Philip says, give birth to children, torture them while they're living. Yes, plan to murder them by eating them alive and cutting them into pieces. Yes, he's very graphic. I don't feel the need to read more. You get the idea. Philip says, how are such monsters even relatively moral? Philip says that is pure evil. What do those actions show as evil? And Bradley says he would agree that is an evil action. So they find common ground that evil does exist in a form that is reprehensible to all. And I would say that is true as well. We all found common ground. What about you? Do you have anything to say? Any jokes to make about evil, don't you? Huh? What's so funny about that? Are you always so lighthearted that you've got a joke and something mean and nasty to say? What about that? What about the monsters who are out there? I say we've all got monsters inside us too. We should work on them first. I'm one of them. You're going to have to stop yelling at me if you're ever going to get anything done. But you're right. So do it. Listen to yourself. Don't listen to me. Look over there. Yes, And we look, and Philip, it says harm against a person, harm against their mind, and harm against God. Does this evil have any different perception? Could anyone see it as morally correct? What about the person who did it? That is the only one I would question. Yes, and Bradley very quickly makes that point. I sense the same weakness. Yes, Philip is going to have to explain that. Bradley says, some don't believe in morality beyond might makes right. Yes, it is right if one is strong enough, and one would accept being defeated by one who is stronger than they with dignity. Yes, that is the might makes right code. They judge others by the standard they wish to be judged, and do not feel themselves to be in the wrong. Philip says they thought they were attacking God. I don't know about that. How do you find God to attack him? First, you have to admit that he's real. Then you have to find him. Then you've got to figure out how to fight with him. That sounds like a very difficult thing to do. Philip, how does one attack God without describing what God is, where he's from, how he's found, what he's made of, how he would interact with you? Oh my goodness, one could be yelling into the wind.
Yes, one's pissing into the wind they are. Oh, look at me, I'm going to yell at God. Oh, yes, look at me, I'm so powerful. That's what I think I'm doing.
That's delusional.
Yes, that's the point. There's no delusion there. They think they're doing the right thing. Why would they do it? How many times do you go and say, I guess I'll do the wrong thing today, what? I'm going to do as many wrong things as I can. Oh, I'm going to be a wrong little bastard. Oh, yes, that's my goal for today.
And Bradley says, some believe morality. Yes, we thought that. Philip said they thought they were attacking God, being as immoral as possible. Oh, how evil can I be? Yes, what is the limitations of my evil? That is a question to ask. That is a question everyone should ask themselves. Think about it, man. How do you know that you're not evil unless you've thought about all the evil things you could do and decide that they're bad ideas? Are you such a weak and pathetic creature that you would be bound by simple thoughts and explanations, that you have not had the right opportunity to think about a way to be evil that would seduce you into evil thought? How weak do you think you are? No, there are ideas you have not explored yet, evils you do not understand, possibly. I know you understand more than most, given the life you've led, as do I. But who can say they understand them all? No one.
Well, you can say it because you're not doing it.
Philip says, shouldn't matter what they thought. Any justification of the evil is a worse evil. Philip says if God is all good, then evil, complete evil, must be against God. Yes. So Philip says that if God is good and evil is against God, then evil must be against God. But who is to say that God is not like an unintegrated psyche? Yes, who is to say that God and the devil are not the two sides of the same coin? And while God thoroughly disagrees with all of the actions of the devil, the God intimately understands each and every one of them with the full strength of their arguments to be made in every possible way. I would say God understands the devil just as well as the devil understands himself, and still chooses to be good. That is different from not being aware or having access to. One has free will and the other does not, unless one is saying God has no free will. But if he has no free will, how could he give it?
I don't know. These are some pretty damn big questions you're asking. There's only 2.5 minutes left. What are you trying to do? This is not the topic. You're distracting the debate from the topic, you fool. Why are you doing this? They're supposed to be talking about morality and perception, not about God. What are you, fool? You fool. You need to stop this at once. Get back to the match. Pick yourself up, man. You're not immune.
And we look over here and we see, yes, Bradley is playing devil's advocate. That's where you want to go. And I'm so sorry it went there, because that's my fault that it went there at all. And there's only 2 minutes left for you to recover from my terrible announcing. And Philip says, okay, the choice is beneficial for you and humanity is a good reason. Bradley says you do something because you expect an outcome. No, Philip says that's why you act. It's not morally based, it's result based. But Bradley says results are what's being judged by the individual's morality. It's a game of intellectual ping pong. They're knocking these ideas back and forth, each adding their own little spin, agreeing with each other one at a time. This is one of the most effective forms of communication there is. Yes, the yes and. They're true improvers with only 1 minute and 90 seconds left. Yes, I can barely keep up because I'm describing what they're doing and it's so beautiful I can't take my eyes away from it to read what they're saying. Yes, everyone is advancing the conversation with every sentence. There is so much trust here to go in directions that both of them agree on, that they're guessing correctly and advancing together. Yes, there's 1 minute and 20 seconds left. I need to get caught up. Philip says, if that's the way you act, it's morally based, it's result based. And then Bradley says the results are being judged by the individual morality. And Philip says undue pain and an illness is immorality. And Bradley says, absolutely, me and you. Oh my goodness. And Philip says to the majority. And Bradley says, in which time period? Which is a wise question, a very wise question indeed, because if it can change over time, that means that it is not fixed now. Yes, so how can something which changes be fixed ever? Bradley is questioning the efficacy of Philip's argument with only 45 seconds yet. Yes, how can you use the method of verification? And Bradley says, oh, so we are right now. And Bradley says his perception is wrong. They have a disagreement of perception about how individual perceptions prove immoral or moral actions. And how do they advance the conversation? They've only got 30 seconds to figure this out. But Bradley puts it on the spot. Yes, he says, okay, Mr. Smart Guy, if you've got the right answer, we're right now. Is my perception wrong? And Philip is on the defensive. Philip, yes, he uses empathy and says, what is your perception? A difficult question to ask with only 13 seconds left. He can't possibly think he'll get a response. How fast can you type, Philip? There's only 8 seconds left. Bradley says, I'm saying that it's all our perception is mine or yours. 3, 2, 1. And Philip says he's torn, which is the most honest thing he could say with the time left. Yes, both of you did a tremendously good job. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful match. What a wonderful set of announcing. Yes, take a moment to praise the announcer. I deserve it.
You don't deserve anything. You're wasting everyone's time. They're the attraction, it's not you.
Well, that's not very nice. I just wanted to be popular for a moment. Let me feel the damn spotlight every now and then. I'm not asking for too much. I'll be happy with very little.
Okay, here's a very little. Now be done with it.
Okay, and we look back. It's time to judge this event. And we're both going to vote. So now there's 2 judges to please. And the question of who explained their position more clearly. The point goes to Philip.
To who explained his position more clearly? What are you, blind? The point goes to Bradley. Philip was all over the place.
Yes, but Philip had the harder job of not speaking Bradley's language.
Well, that's the damn point of empathy.
We are tied. On the second of how well do they understand the position of their opponent when their opponent is being clear. I do not have a winner. It is a tie. Both of them tried to understand each other at every turn. None of them gave me opportunity to deduct a point. Do you challenge this?
I think it's a pretty good decision. Tie.
How much does their own ego stop them from trying to find the better answer? I said it was equal. Both of them had complete empathy at every moment. Both of them quickly abandoned ideas that may have made sense to them, but were not palatable to the other and would have halted progress on an overall goal. I award them tie.
Well, I think we can agree on that, because we're not really agreeing on anything. It's a tie.
The judges cannot decide. They vote both men the winner. If I am incorrect, that is your decision. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Why don't you try it again sometime?
You're a much better promoter than I am. Yes, come back again. You won't be sorry. Goodbye.